Okay, so I'm a big Arctic Monkeys fan, and I've been listening to a lot of their earlier stuff recently. And I thought just for a bit of practice, I'd try to replicate the guitar tone from around that time. And surprisingly, maybe it's because I'm like a metal guy, so I'm from that kind of background. But this kind of guitar tone to me seems really hard to get, which I wasn't expecting. So I thought I'd show you what I've got with plugins. I do feel like I've got a tone now that's pretty close, but it took quite a lot of work. So I'll show you what it sounds like. I was modeling it after the song Brian Storm, that specific tone. And then I'll walk you through everything that I did to get there and everything I learned about this kind of tone in trying to replicate it. So yeah, here's a couple of riffs to show you the tone that I've got. Okay, I can't think of any other songs to play. Forgive my playing. I know there's a couple of mistakes in there. Whatever. I'm just showing you the tone. So, yeah, maybe this tone isn't that hard to get, and I'm just out of my comfort zone. But to me, the thing that makes it seem hard is that it sounds like quite a clean tone, which I thought it was quite clean. But it's actually like really not clean in a way that's retaining clarity, whereas metal tones usually have like saturation and you can't really hear the fretboard, you know, the string hitting the fretboard and all that detail. Whereas with this tone, it's heavily distorted. If I play a power chord, for example, like you can hear there's a lot of distortion on that. But then if I'm playing just single notes and stuff, you can hear the stuff that usually if you distort a tone, it'll get too messy if you've still got all this stuff in there, like my fingers, you know, the pick against the string, the fingers on the fretboard. Like, it's a weird in-between of super clean in the way that you can hear everything going on, but super dirty in the way that it's actually pretty heavily distorted. So one thing that I have found before we go into the box is with the instrument, this isn't the best guitar to be playing it with, because from what I can tell, you need single coil pickups, and I do have a humbucker in the bridge here, and it just doesn't sound anywhere near like the same tone if I'm using this. So maybe if you have single coils, use the bridge. That might sound closer, but for me, I'm having to use at least these two together. And that's pretty much all about the instrument. Like, it's mainly about the amp, and I guess the playing. Like, it's pretty hard playing. Like, you know, it's pretty like funky kind of sound, especially in that song, but also kind of throughout their music. So to get into here, ignore this track. This is me talking. These are 2 tracks. Seems kind of complicated, I know, having like the same thing going through 2 tracks, but this was what I ended up doing. And it is pretty simple actually what I'm doing. So the first thing I'm using is this. I've been really loving this amp recently. It's by Black Rooster Audio. Oh yeah, it says. And it's a replica of the Orange Tiny Terror, which, I mean, it sounds so cool. The only thing is, having this tone, you don't have much EQ, so I've had to do more EQ, kind of as though, you know, kind of replacing the lack of EQ here. But other than that, it's like, if I just show you this track, this amp soloed, like, so already you can hear it's getting kind of close. It's just this pretty solid like rock sound, but like I said, low end, like, it's the EQ is limited, so I did boost low end. I also EQ'd here. Oh, that's a free plugin, by the way, that amp. And it's probably my favorite VST amp I've ever used, and I've used a lot of them, and I've paid for a lot of them. So definitely recommend that. Like I said, I boosted some lows, boosted some mids, got some harsh stuff. Wouldn't usually do stuff like this on guitars, but it's just because of that tone knob. Kind of annoying that they didn't just put like a normal EQ on, but I guess they wanted to replicate the orange. Next thing I did, because it wasn't sounding like dirty enough, like I was saying, I just used this stock Cubase fuzz, tiny amount. And let me show you the tone with and without and then with, because you can hear that I don't know what that's modeled on. Like, I don't know what that fuzz pedal is modeled on, but if I use a big muff or anything, it destroys the sound, destroys all that clarity that I was talking about. Whereas if I just add a tiny bit of that, it gives it the saturation it needs without losing clarity. So here's without the fuzz and then with. Just makes it a bit messy sounding. So then I just added a little bit of delay, a little bit of reverb. These are both stock plugins. This is a stock Cubase thing as well. And I just used the fuzz from it, no amps or anything. And these were just, again, EQ. Just found some like kind of bassy stuff here, some mids and high end like you'd expect. It's very trebly amp this. And then I just literally boosted some lows again to make up for the thing I was saying about. Then I duplicated this track. I took the second bassy, like where I boosted low end. I took that out, so I've only got one EQ here, turned these two off, and all I did was I put this, which is by Mercurial SS11X. It's got like pedals, it's got amps. I left the noise gate on because why not? But all that I actually used was the preamp and just put it in front of the amp, and it boosted the crap out of the signal, which is what this needs. Let me show you this soloed. It's not very nice on its own, but you'll hear that it has what was missing. Super messy, and that's what the tone needed, just that bright, spanky kind of sound. So I added that. This is it has a free trial, which it works really well as a free trial. It just cuts the audio out like every 20 minutes, but it's really cheap as well if you want to buy it. And yeah, that's just the same track. I just duplicated the track, sending the same signal through these two tracks. This is just me talking. So this is the main. This is the layer, I've called it. That's pretty much how I did it. If I show you the two on their own and then the two together. I know that's kind of a weird way to get to the tone, but you know, I got close with the first track, and then with the second, just turning the preamp on, it just pushes the signal and makes it bright, and just I just did it as an experiment and it turned out cool. But what I've learned from this is the formula basically for this kind of tone is to find kind of an amp that's not too metally and not too huge sounding, and just not too high gain, and keep the gain, you know, around 12 o'clock or lower on the amp. And then just give it a little bit of boost, but you want something like, let me show you if I had a big muff instead. This is a really good plugin, by the way, but it's not free. So versus, it's just, you got to find a distortion to put in front of it that you know, that gives it that characteristic where it's boosting it a little but doesn't make it sound like you've lost the clarity. This is definitely nowhere near close to what Arctic Monkeys were actually using at the time of their early stuff, but it doesn't really matter. You just need to find, you know, the building blocks of the sound. There's a little bit of delay and stuff. I just added that because I can hear it in Brian Storm. Really, this is just a quick video because it's a simple formula. Like, it's not easy, but it's simple. You need to find a way to, you need to find an amp that isn't too bassy and huge sounding, and then find a way to overdrive it so that it has that messy sound without losing the clarity. And yeah, definitely trying to preamp. I think anything like that is a good idea. A treble booster could help, or a tube screamer or something, just something that pushes it a little harder. But yeah, so that's how I got to this tone. Pretty happy that I got there, because it kind of made me scratch my head for a while. But yeah, it's a freaking awesome tone in my opinion, and hopefully I've given you some kind of insight into how people like Arctic Monkeys get this kind of tone, and you know what you're looking for if you want to replicate it. So thanks for watching.